intervention is actually at higher levels than it ever was during the Depression.
Yes, although that controversy struck me, which is why I wrote the book, that challenge of two opposing ideas. The most important thing for our generation is that the New Deal will come back to bite our children when they pay yet higher payroll taxes. Because we did not dare to reform Social Security, because out of some filial piety, we did not want to offend preceding generations. Roosevelt was inspiring. His voice was inspiring. He was right on World War II, but just because he was right on World War II, we do not have to have false nostalgia for his wrong-headed policies in the 30s, and we should warn our children and help to change Social Security law. But you don't see that in the candidates, even from Romney to Edwards. You don't see daring on Social Security.
Or Medicare.
Or Medicare.
And certainly Bush, President Bush's attempt to even discuss Social Security reform went absolutely nowhere, partly because of his own fecklessness, I think. Let me ask you real quickly, we heard your bio earlier in the program. You've worked at the Wall Street Journal, at the Financial Times. You're a columnist now for Bloomberg. What can you kind of define yourself ideologically, not in partisan terms, but what's your intellectual history, what's your intellectual temperament, and how did you arrive at kind of the worldview that you hold?
Well, I'm a liberal. I'm an old-fashioned kind of liberal, and a lot of this book is about the death of that kind of liberalism, which some of those justices had. That old liberal is a free market liberal, a classical liberal in the European sense, who cares a lot about the individual, the forgotten man, and will emphasize that rather than the group or the aggregate. And my very first job was at the New Republic, where I wrote an article, I think, about the parents shouldn't know when girls under 18 had abortions. It was called The Squeal Squawk, and that was the liberal in me. It was leave me alone, even if I'm a child. And I don't see too much of a disconnect. I have great faith in the individual, and I think it's time for a reevaluation of the phrase liberal in America. And the Republicans were wrong to try to smear Democrats with that word. Ronald Reagan was right on that. It is a good word. Democrats and Republicans should both use it, and we should re-examine traditional liberalism if we can.
Do you think I mean, many people would say that we're in a great golden age of individualism and of decentralization. I mean, even as there are certain forces that heavily centralize power, government, mega corporations, because of the internet, because of the breakdown of many traditional social mores, the individual has more freedom of expression, both to say what they want, but also to live how they want. Is that true, or do you find that?
Oh no, I do think that's true, which is why it's odd that the other part isn't. The discussion of liberalism is truly weird now, and there was recently a lecture at Hillsdale College where a professor said, you have to choose between Reagan and Roosevelt. Reagan, I don't know what he said, but I would say Reagan did not have to choose because demography was on his side. There were plenty of people to pay for Social Security, and at the time it seemed that growth would cover the entitlements. But we do have to choose because demography is insufficient. There are not enough people to pay those Social Security, and also Social Security is so set up that you can't fix it just by the economy growing. So this is a moment of choice for us. Our generation and the younger people, we have to look again at Roosevelt. We don't need to do exactly what Reagan did about Roosevelt. We don't need to be afraid of Goldwater. Goldwater was a long time ago.
Goldwater was mostly right, but well, thank you.
Thank you.